I was at Craft Warehouse the other day, perusing the paint section, when I came across this unfamiliar tool. Let's take a closer peek. According to the signage, it's called a filbert wisp. It's shaped a bit like a fork. Well, maybe a threek, as it only has 3 prongs. The size is 10/0, quite small you can see when compared to my thumbnail. So what does one do with the mini trident of paintbrushes? Naturally, I had to find out. I purchased both the filbert wisp as well as the angular wisp. They were around $4 each, but if you don't have a craft warehouse near you, I'll try to find some similar brushes online and link them below. Let's begin with the filbert wisp. Okay, so it looks like we can probably create some nice parallel lines by holding the bristles horizontally. Let's give that a go first. And I'm just going to grab this extra little blob of paint and turn it into some grass. As someone who loves painting landscapes, my mind immediately goes towards fields and foliage when I see the shape of this brush. Let's try another clump of grass. I'm holding the brush at an angle because I don't think those evenly spaced parallel lines will look quite right. Okay, I guess it sort of defeats the purpose if I'm only using one line at a time. So let's go ahead and give it another try, a little more horizontal this time. Ooh, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I'm going to see if I can try to fix this. Throw in some more water, some more paint. All right, it's coming together a little bit better. Let's just add some shadows down here. And actually, this little shrub is not half bad. I'm going to give it another go, but this time I'm going completely sporadic with the brush strokes. I'm hopping up and down the page, I'm twisting my wrist, and I'm trying to make this just as random as possible. I like the addition of the darker color in there. Give it a little bit of depth. Yeah, I actually really like how this is turning out. I can definitely picture a few of these fun little bushes in the middle of a landscape painting. All right, next up, let's move on to the angular wisp. As you can see, it's pretty similar in size. Oh, it looks like the lines are not quite as evenly spaced, and I think that could actually be a good thing for us. And now I'm just going to give it a little bit of a twist. Okay, and let's try turning the brush so the bristles are vertical. All right, not bad. And I'd like to try a shrub with as many random lines and movements as possible. And of course, let's drop in a few other colors. A little bit of yellow in there, some undersea green, and some perline green. All right, for this final attempt here, I'm going to be using my 3 colors, the yellow ochre, the perline green, and the undersea green, but I'm going to be using the colors with a little more intention. So the first layer is a very watery yellow ochre, and then I'm going to come in and just drop in some undersea green, and I'm just going to let it move wherever it wants to go. And now let's add the perline green, just where we might see some shadows. And now I'm going for some reed grass or some wheat. I think this little wisp is actually perfect for this. Okay, so I think we've gotten a pretty good feel for those 2 brushes. Filbert wisp on the top, angled wisp on the bottom. So now why don't we jump into just a very quick little painting of a row of flowers and grass. And I am going to be alternating back and forth between the two brushes. I'm noticing that I have to be careful not to use the brush entirely horizontal too often. Oh, do you see? I just did that right there. I held it in one position for too long and I got these parallel lines that are not in any way natural looking. So I'm just going to throw in some more grass there in a moment and see if we can fix that. I think it's safe to say it's a little bit easier to use the angle brush, and I'm not getting quite as many of those unnatural lines. Oh, now that I said that, I just did it again. All right, I'm gonna throw a little more in there. You know, I think it's so important whenever you get a new tool or a supply of some sort to just let yourself play and experiment. If you immediately turn to all of those tutorials that tell you what to do and what not to do, I think you can miss out. When you go into a project already having that notion of what's right and what's wrong, it can hinder your ability to think outside the box. I mean, technically, all discoveries are found at least slightly outside the realm of what's expected, right? So if we don't let ourselves play, we are limiting our chances of finding the unexpected. And I think a lot can be said for just following your instincts too. Even when things don't work out great, like these flowers right here, I am still learning along the way. And it is entirely worthwhile. So, what are my thoughts so far on the filbert wisp and the angular wisp? Well, I don't know that I would recommend buying both, but maybe just the angular could be really fun. It would be a nice addition to whatever you're currently using, especially if you like to paint fields, grass, wheat, bushes. And I do like the unexpected outcome that it often produces. So I was just thinking that these brushes could actually be really fun for animal fur or maybe feathers on a bird. So what do you think? Maybe a couple shades of brown and some gray? I think there's some potential here for sure. And now I'll just throw down a little bit of greens and blues just to get a feel for how the bird might look. Okay, so that's pretty cool so far. I like how this brush naturally leaves those white areas instead of filling everything in. I will for sure have to revisit animals and birds at a later time. So let me know in the comments, do you own one of these brushes? And is there anything that you like to use it for that I may have overlooked? Thank you so much for watching.